45 European leaders descend on England to discuss repairing partnership between the continent and Britain. Ursula von der Leyen has been re-elected as President of the European Commission for a second term. She received a strong support in a make or break vote in the European Parliament.
Votes in favour 401.
The German EPP candidate got a better result than the one she got the first time she was elected in 2019. A bigger majority gives her a stronger mandate than she had on the previous occasion. This was reflected in the congratulations she got from the Socialists, the Liberals and the Greens. But her victory had not been certain, as she had to negotiate with members on the right and the left, something that could be seen in the promises she made during her speech, as defense, competitiveness and housing were on the list. Despite the vote being secret, most of the European Parliament groups made clear their intentions. The centrist groups, including EPP, SD, Greens and Renew Europe, voted in favour, despite some individual dissenters. While the extremes, both the left and the far right, overwhelmingly voted against. Ursula von der Leyen delivered her candidate speech to be re-elected as President of the European Commission in front of the European Parliament. Pleasing right and left with her speech, the German politician from centre-right EPP defended a strong Europe and stressed that there is no room for demagogues or polarization. She focused on the defence of Europe and mentioned to create a defence commissioner for this purpose. Von der Leyen also criticized Viktor Orban for playing to Putin's hand by visiting Moscow.
Russia is banking on Europe and the West going soft. And some in Europe are playing along. 2 weeks ago, a European Union Prime Minister went to Moscow. This so-called peace mission was nothing but an appeasement mission. This was a plain appeasement mission.
This is not the only new commissioner she wants to put in place. Competitiveness and SMEs, short for small and medium enterprises, are also high on her agenda. If the past term was the so-called Green Commission, the next one von der Leyen wants it to be known as the Industry Commission. Less bureaucracy, less permits, and more trust for SMEs. But she also had some words for one of Europe's biggest issues, the housing crisis. To fight against increased prices and inaccessibility to housing, she will appoint a housing commissioner.
Typically, housing is not seen as a European issue. Some might say we should not get involved. But I want this Commission to support people where it matters most, and if it matters to Europeans, then it matters to Europe.
Another pressing topic was migration. After the agreement on the new asylum pact that forced solidarity and put a price of 20,000 euros to each migrant, von der Leyen now wants to implement it.
For the implementation of the pillar, we need a common approach on returns to make them more effective and dignified. And we need to develop our comprehensive partnerships, in particular across our southern neighbourhood. The Mediterranean region should get undivided attention. And this is why I will appoint a commissioner for the region.
Von der Leyen had also some concessions for the Greens and promised to stick to the targets of the Green Deal. But with a focus on the industry, she assured she will be putting forward a clean industrial deal in the first 3 months.
With the Israel-Hamas war in its 10th month and hospitals in Gaza at breaking point, EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen made her most emotional reference yet in her pitch this week for another 5 years as President. The war began last October when Hamas killed over 1,200 people, mostly Israelis, in southern Israel.
I want to be very clear. The bloodshed in Gaza must stop now. Too many children, women and civilians have lost their lives as a result of Israel's response to Hamas' brutal terror. The people of Gaza cannot bear anymore, and humanity cannot bear anymore.
As President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen was often criticised for her pro-Israeli stance. EU staffers in Brussels often go on walkouts to express their disappointment. And here in Strasbourg, 4 Irish MEPs from the centrist Renew Europe group decided to go against their party line this week and vote against her re-election.
I read her political guidelines, I've listened to her contributions to our group meetings, but unfortunately I haven't heard enough to make me think that there is a change of policy, particularly on Gaza. We heard nothing about the trade agreement, we heard nothing about sanctions, we heard nothing about settler violence, we've heard nothing about the International Court of Justice or the application for an arrest warrant in the International Criminal Court. So unfortunately all of these issues were skirted over. We made some efforts to get some answers, but they weren't forthcoming.
Barry Andrews has received thousands of letters from voters on this issue. They want an arrest warrant for the Israeli Prime Minister in the International Criminal Court. But the European Union remains deeply divided on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which might explain the weak response. Maeve McMahon, Euronews, Strasbourg.
Newly elected UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer welcomed 45 European leaders to a summit in England aimed at repairing relations. The meeting fired a starting gun on bolstering links between Britain and the continent, with a particular focus on supporting Ukraine, Starmer said.
We want to work with all of you to reset relationships, rediscover our common interest, and renew the bonds of trust and friendship that brighten the fabric of European life. And the task is urgent because our security is on the line. Every day Ukraine fights to protect not just the Ukrainian people, but the European people.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was a key guest at the European Political Community Summit and later wrote on social media that Russia's invasion of Ukraine could not continue while foreign leaders stood united. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban told reporters on his way out that victory for either party would not be found on the battlefield, but at the negotiation table.
Police in France have opened a criminal investigation following a suspected deadly arson attack in Nice. The apartment building blaze killed 7 people in the southern French city. The dead include 3 children aged 5, 7 and 10 and a 17-year-old teenager who tried to escape by jumping from a window.
C'est la piste criminelle. Assez rapidement, des éléments m'ont conduit à ouvrir une enquête en flagrance pour des faits volontaires, donc d'incendie volontaire ayant entraîné la mort.
According to firefighters, 3 people were rescued using ladders and 33 people were evacuated from the building. Authorities in the Moulin district, Nice, said everyone had been affected by the tragedy. The region's prefect said they were determined to provide help and assistance to the survivors.
Countries across southern Europe have issued extreme weather warnings due to potentially dangerous heat. Greece's Culture Ministry has ordered the iconic Acropolis to close for several hours in the middle of the day. Meteorologists said hot air coming from Africa will continue baking the nation until Sunday at least. Temperatures on Thursday are expected to reach 43 degrees Celsius.
And the heat is unbelievable. Yes, you have to stay hydrated, drinking, and hopefully you'll survive in this weather.
In Croatia, authorities have reported the highest ever temperatures at the Adriatic Sea. In Dubrovnik, thousands of tourists look for shade to hide from the blazing sun while exploring the city, while people at nearby beach resorts sheltered under umbrellas. In Romania, one person has died and another is in a very serious condition after a period of extreme heat. An orange heatwave alert remains for the country. Across Europe, doctors say it's crucial to understand the symptoms of hypothermia and dehydration and act as quickly as possible to avoid serious health problems. Europe's biggest LGBTQ sporting event has kicked off with an opening ceremony in Vienna's Karlsplatz Square. The EuroGames will see 4,000 athletes from 50 nations compete in 31 different sports, ranging from tennis and badminton to football and roller derby. This year is the first time Austria have hosted the Games. Thomas Nobis, who is organising the tennis tournament, praised the event for its inclusivity.
Es ist wichtig für die Community, dass wir uns treffen in einem Safe Space. Wir fühlen uns wohl, wir fühlen uns sicher. Wir sind aber trotzdem offen für alle Menschen, die hier mitspielen, die zuschauen, die uns supporten und auch vielleicht der ganzen Community bisher noch nicht so sehr begegnet sind.
Gay icon Conchita Wurst of Eurovision fame headlined the event, welcoming the participants to Vienna. The EuroGames were first held in 1992 in The Hague. Different cities have hosted the event since then. Vienna has donated €150,000 to the cause, as well as providing free access to many sporting venues.